It's Spoilerin Time, folks. This is a show from the Cordkillers universe. Cordkillers is a show where we talk about cutting the cord and what kinds of things should we watch. This is the show where we've watched them and we get to talk about it. This week on Spoilerin Time, we are going to talk about episode 4 of season 1 of The Office UK. That's our library show. And the movie Us. I'm Tom Merritt. With me, of course, is Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man. But first, we got to check in with a super depressing summer movie draft. All of America stunned into silence, mourning the desperately poor performance of beloved children's classic reborn, Dumbo. We go now live to the wake of Dumbo with Tom Merritt live on the scene. Tom, what are you seeing over there?
Not Dumbo, Brian. I did not see the movie Dumbo, nor did many other Americans. But it did make $45 million, Brian.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, $45 million.
You would think for that powerful of a classic. Now, on the other hand, it's a Tim Burton reimagining of it. But also, like, the star power. Keep in mind, Tim Burton and Michael Keaton brought us Beetlejuice, you know? And Tim Burton and Danny DeVito brought us Batman Returns, which was... Which is also Michael Keaton. Oh, that's right. There should have been magic there. There was less magic than there should be.
They needed Vicky Vale.
Especially at the box office. So this thing, it creeps over 100 million, do you think?
No. Yeah, I think so.
It's going to get crushed by Shazam this next week, though.
You have Shazam.
Good.
So that's good.
Well,
you get every dollar that crushes Dumbo. And Shazam's pretty kid-friendly. Shazam is, but it's pretty kid-friendly. I mean, it's not a little kid-friendly. Dumbo's a little kid-friendly, like tiny kids, but...
less so. I think real little kids will get bored. I mean, they're pressing the heartstrings, making you feel sad an awful lot of that movie.
Listen, that is the least of our worries when Captain Marvel is now at $354 million. Team John Trekker just flying away. Grant from the Beerists with $127 million just off the backs of Us. Now, John Trekker, we got to wait till June for Toy Story 4. We got to see what a lot of these other blockbusters have coming out between now and then. But it's... You're not out of this game at all yet. With I think Shazam could overperform for you. You spent $23.
And I think it will. Like, Shazam has the chance to be pure joy and surprise everybody, in which case, bucking the trend of all that dour DC Universe stuff would be fantastic.
And if you want dour, pessimistic stuff, you also have Pet Sematary, which comes out this week.
Okay, the only bummer about all of this is that we found that in general, it's a great single weekend to have all the movies, but very rarely yields a winning strategy.
Well, it's all about what you pay for it. $7 for Pet Sematary feels right.
Yeah, although
in fact, $8 for Dumbo feels right. It's the fact that Us and Captain Marvel both seem to be overperforming. That's the depressing part.
Man, by a lot. I'm hoping Shazam enters that club. I did see the trailer.
It might. I thought Shazam was really good.
Did you see the trailer for Hellboy yet? You have any opinions on that?
I saw it and I don't remember a thing about it other than, wow, it looks like the other Hellboy.
Yeah. No, I mean, it came on before one of the movies yesterday or something.
Mm-hmm. But that's Team Hammerson's first movie. That's coming up a week from this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, let's move on to Us, which, if you can separate your movie draft feelings from your feelings about the actual movie Us, how do you feel?
It's a great movie. Can we just talk straight about the end? Can we just go to the end?
Okay, we're gonna skip right to the end, and don't forget Spoilerin Time, folks. So this is what we do. Because I felt this movie was amazing, but not because of the end.
The end was, I think, a terrible misstep. I think in the very opening sequence. The very opening sequence, I'm like, oh, let me guess, it's not that girl. Spent the whole movie waiting for it. I was like, okay, this is gonna be the most obvious thing. When are they gonna drop it? When are they gonna drop it?
But there's the difference right there. And then I did not, from the beginning of this movie, say, oh, that's not the same girl.
Well, and
so when I did figure it out, which was before they revealed it, it was much more fun for me than it was for you.
Well, when it got to the end, I'm like, oh, oh, they're gonna, how cool. They're gonna maybe leave it ambiguous or let us figure it out on our own to argue about later. They're not gonna hit us over the, oh no, they're definitely hitting us over. And it's like, I think that ending breaks the movie because all of a sudden incentives don't make any sense at all. And they could have accomplished the same thing just by having the girl keep the same girl in the same side of the universe, but just have maybe that encounter. It's the first time, like, oh, that one girl, she was the first to have ever met her tethered, and that's why she's a revolutionary. Not because like this one girl had a Machiavellian bold switching strategy. Like I don't believe that she would do that on her own.
I also don't think it's not.
I think that's fine. I can deal with the Machiavellian bold switching strategy because that girl has lost her mind.
Sure.
And she has fragmented her purpose, which was originally just to get out of there, into a lot of things that don't make sense because she's from crazy land. And the parallel is that the woman who would have been crazy learned to speak, had lots of help because she had this supposedly traumatic experience that caused her to stop speaking, that then reformed her and made her into somebody reasonable. I thought that was actually, instead of a weakness, I found that to be a strength.
Sure, but then it throws into question, number one, as Justin pointed out, we were talking off camera or before the Weird Things podcast, that whole scene of like crazy version of Lady Can Talk, wouldn't the first words out of your mouth be something along the lines of, you stole my life, I'm here to take it back? Like, what is the... and okay, maybe she caught a significant amount of the crazy while she was growing up, the majority of her life down there. But the flip side is also true. Crazy girl, topside, whether she started off the topside girl or the tethered underside girl, she's still the person who fell in love with the husband and raised the kids, and
yeah.
Like it doesn't. It only unnecessarily complicates things, and I don't know what the benefit is.
I disagree on that too. I think that makes it more interesting, which is, so these are really doppelgangers, and is she bad even though she started underground, and is the girl who was underground good anymore even though she once was supposedly good? And that kind of complexity I find more interesting.
And I think by making them switch rather than, both of them living above ground, keeps with the imagery and some of the symbolism of the film that someone's going to be above ground and someone's going to be below ground unless they untether, which is the whole sort of revolutionary idea. I mean...
So on the one other minor thing that was stuck in my head, and tell me if this landed with you, the Hands Across America thing, I couldn't stop thinking about what a massive failure of a campaign that thing was, and how is it that the troll people from the underworld were able to pull it off when the people who actually put it together weren't able to do it.
Also, wasn't it not in San Francisco? It was like down in LA, and there was a big protest in the San Francisco area about it. Like, what are the less problematic portions of the film? I assume, again, because that's a throwaway thing.
This is a testament to just how good the movie is. Like, this is the bottom of the barrel, trying to scrape things. I was strengths of this movie. I loved all of the characters of the family, and I felt like they were far more and better developed than any of the fairly one-dimensional characters from Get Out. I had that awesome moment of really identifying with the dad, and very clearly the dad's not the hero of the movie, or even one of the more interesting family members. But I'm of that demographic now, and he did a good job of capturing that joy, and I loved, even before it got weird and scary, I was already in love with the story I was seeing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the family dynamics is what makes this movie amazing for me. It's a real family that I believe in, and even if everything they do isn't necessarily believable, it's horror luck. That's fine. their reactions are believable. Their humor and their anger and their fear is all believable to me. The moment where he sees the people standing in the front lawn and they go from like, come on, they're not hurting anybody, to, well, that's kind of creepy. I'll show them with the bat. Oh my God, no, I won't. Like, I just love that sequence. That totally bought me into the reality of these family dynamics. And all four family members had distinct and strong personalities that played in to later events. Rather than having, just kind of paper cut family personalities. It was more reasonable that, the daughter was dismissive of her brother, but still loved him. That was a deeper character than sometimes you might get in a horror film. I have problems with the ending that are more just about, and maybe it's similar to you, like maybe they shouldn't have hit it so much on the head of who she was at the end and left it up to us. But it was more about just not sure that I was unsure of the motivations to go where those characters did, not the motivations for them to do what they wanted to do, what their stated aims were, like to stay away in the case of the woman who lived above ground, and to get revenge for the woman who lived above ground, or that lived below ground, but just how they went about it. I still, to kind of go back into what you were saying, I still don't understand why she would want to lead Hands Across America, not because it's Hands Across America, but just like, wouldn't she just do what is necessary to get back above ground and untether? If that's leading a revolution, great, but wouldn't that revolution be less scattered? Like, I don't understand how Hands Across America fit into that.
Well, it was the shirt. It was the shirt that she was wearing.
No, I know that, but like, why would that matter? Why wouldn't that shirt just get?
Yeah, like there was a big point made about like, we have to make a bold statement, and it's like, okay, to what end? And what is your bold statement? What do you want? What are your demands? Why is this happening?
I know the idea is she's a young girl, and so to her a bold statement is Hands Across America, because that's what she's being fed on TV, but. That was probably the only thing that I really just didn't buy.
But and it is a testament to how good the costuming and the selection of the shears as weapons and all that stuff, that the question of why is buried so far beneath the appreciation for how good the execution was of all that stuff. Because, the hand-holding stuff was creepy. If I'm going to ding anything else, I don't know that Tim Heidecker added much to that. What? His character, I mean, I get it. They're in a loveless drunk marriage, I guess.
It's not pretty to watch, Brian. I get that.
It was just, it was a little bit silly enough to take me. I was believing everything up until there, he's dying and calls for the police.
I think I know what you're reacting to. It wasn't the situation of the loveless marriage. He had some really comedic physical acting that was almost too good for that guy to be able to do. Like, it was a little silly. And I'm like, that guy's just a jerk. Like, he wouldn't be funny. He wouldn't be walking funny. I don't know. There was something in his physical comedy that felt like it was like, wow, that's great physical comedy. I'm not sure it's consistent with the character.
Yeah, or even consistent with the rest of the movie as we'd seen it, because it was such competent, strong horror that was the only time that it felt like it was veering into camp territory. And I thought they had done a good job of avoiding that.
That's it. Yeah, well said. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was trying to figure out. I also I loved the moment when I realized, when it dawned on me, that she was the only one of the people from underground who talked.
Yes.
And that was the moment when I started to figure out what was going on, because I'm like, wait a minute, the boy doesn't talk, the dad doesn't talk, all the other girl does is run. Why is she special? Why is she able to talk? And it's, it becomes clear later, but that I actually, and again, unlike you were like, oh, so I guess they switched from the beginning. I didn't have it from the beginning, so it was more fun for me. Sometimes if you're a little dumber, it's more enjoyable.
I really like at the start of the second act when the scale of everything grows tremendously.
That was one of my favorite moments when it's like, somebody turn on the damn TV, and then they did, and it was looking exactly like what I would expect if this was happening all over the place.
I super appreciated that, because I was really, after the Get Out trailer, I was so worried about the trailers I had seen for Us. Because,
oh, really?
Because Get Out's trailer
pretty much is the entire movie, yeah.
Right? Where you look at the Us trailer and you're like, okay, it's gonna be a family, and they're gonna be haunted by doubles of themselves. And to at least try to say, well, no, it's like the whole country is, on this other scale. I appreciated that. I wish the ending was a little more on that same scale, but.
Well, especially because like they got away. I'm like, to what?
To where,
it looks like the bad guys won. Like, I mean, sure. They're happily driving around a hellscape. I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently, he wants to make more movies in that universe, so maybe we'll find out where they go.
Yeah, he was asked like in an interview, and he said maybe.
Yeah,
so maybe
he's got ideas. Put it that way.
Anyway, the movie's very good, and my wife wouldn't see it because she doesn't like scary movies, and I think she was right because it's good and scary.
It is scary. Yeah.
Also, the kid design, like the doppelganger of the boy, like the mask design and the character and the kinship mirrorness between the two, and the cruel kind of horrific way that the boy is the one who saves the day at the end. It was great.
Oh my God, the fight scene.
Which one?
The end fight scene in the underground with between Red and Adelaide. That was so great.
I guess it didn't make that big of an impression on me.
Like the orchestral version of Five on It is playing, and she's doing the sort of ballet inspired, fighting, while Adelaide's, kind of on her last, struggling on her last strings. Oh, that was really great. I love that. And the kind of fake dioptic shot that they do.
Oh yeah.
That was really a very sloppy shot.
I didn't mind it because like at that point, you're sort of seeing it through it's as though my head got hit around a whole bunch. Yeah. So it's like if it's a sloppy shot, I just assume it's me with double vision experiencing it.
Well, yeah, just the visual effect element of it was, I could see the layer. I could see like
I've never
the fade on it.
Not,
I was like,
I've never not seen those fades, like all the way back to Carrie, where it's just a straight up line down the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then to The Office UK episode 4. Wherein we have a consultant coming in to talk about teamwork.
Yeah. Again, familiar territory. I am enjoying.
Is this familiar? This is one where I couldn't remember a U.S. analog.
There's been. I think this is familiar in the sense of instead of making it a moment, they made it the ongoing hatred of Toby as representing HR and the various. It's an ongoing thing in the U.S. version that they're always doing workshops on. This time we're doing it this way.
Well, and this is the first one that we see in the UK version. Also, usually this takes place in that little tiny office in the U.S. version. I liked this staging much better because this felt like a company that doesn't really have a place to do this, but has an empty room that maybe is used for other things most of the time, but they cleared it out and it's depressing, way too big for the purpose, has a weird picture of the founder of the company in it. That to me was a nice thing that set this apart from the slicker, more glossy U.S. version.
Along that same line, loved seeing the overhead transparency projector. Took me back to high school. Also, Ricky Gervais could play guitar and sing bad songs really well. I enjoyed that.
I was like, he's actually not bad.
I mean, and
I think that made it even better, where it's like, oh, David Brent, can actually play guitar. Oh, but his lyrics are horrible. Okay, we get it.
Well, and it is nice to see the ways that David Brent is horrific and increasingly how it's different from Michael Scott. They did just the right amount of the constantly singing along with the guy giving the presentation. Separately, I did think Tim's snapping at the end was a bit unwarranted. When he just sort of snapped, he was like, I can't, I'm out. Also, we got on a date. No, you didn't break up?
Right, yeah.
Like that was a bit much out of nowhere.
I feel like that's something we've grown out of. Like maybe in 2001, we just forgive that because sitcom logic. But now we know that it can be better than that, and it could be more motivated. Because it struck me odd too. In a episode that is otherwise crafted, I feel like they're like, really, like Tim knows that they're not broken up. He would have more sensitivity about that, and I'm not sure why he would get that angry over that and want to quit. Well, and I agree. It didn't
wasn't
feel
even
as motivated.
That was the other thing, is when he quit, he thought they were broken up. and it wasn't quitting because they were broken up. He was quitting because he had had enough of this one workshop with nothing that indicated that he had reached peak frustration beforehand.
Yeah, and they could have. There were enough tools in this episode to build him up to that point, I think.
Right.
Instead, they showed him making jokes and dealing with it, and that would reduce the motivation to quit because he's like, well, I'll get by making fun of the whole thing. I thought that with him being the only person that Dawn was talking to, that he would be the one who would know they weren't broken up.
Well, they also, this is a difference in style between the US and UK versions. Like the only indication you had to be watching with your full attention to catch the 6-second scene where you see through a window of a door, Dawn and her boyfriend clearly making up and hugging, but no dialogue, nothing to indicate like that was it. And if you maybe we're playing Hearthstone, you might have missed it.
Over and over to the other coworkers, we haven't split up, right?
Correct.
That's the theme. Like, how did Tim get that wrong?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, wishful thinking, right? So if I buy that he's that upset, maybe because he's that upset, it blurs his logic, etc. But yeah. Overall, though, I mean, strong episode.
It continues to be great. Great for a different flavor. I could see the attractiveness to import this into the United States. By the way, I remember that I assume it's still going. The Breaking Bad remake, Metastasis. Do you remember the reaction when that came out? It's a Spanish language version. It takes place in I think Mexico, but it's just straight up Breaking Bad, just done in Spanish. And when it came out, people were genuinely like, "This does not appear to be a parody. What the heck is even happening?" And I'm like, "Dummies! The same thing that we do all the time. A country's taking something from another place and importing it."
Well, and countries do this to us still. There were a million versions of Star Trek that were just knocked off, sometimes without even licensing, but there are still localized versions of all kinds of shows. The Voice in the United States spun off a bunch of things. Pop Idol in the UK spun off a bunch of things. Like, that's not unusual.
Yeah, it's just and likewise, I remember there being an Onion article doing some satire about like, what's next? Is there going to be another version, ABC's version of The Office from NBC? And it's like the underlying point being, why are you remaking this thing that was just fine in another place? And
well, I mean, sure. So we have a worldwide distribution network that is better than it's ever been. So it's easier than ever to take something and just make it available with subtitles, right? Or even dubbing. So I could see where there's less of a reason to have to remake it from scratch, but there's also just localizing something and saying, this would work really well if it was set in upstate New York, and people in the United States will find that funnier than Slough. Yeah. Because they don't know what Slough is.
And also Saul Goodman is Saul Bueno.
Is that true, though?
That's Wikipedia.
That is true.
Well, pretty great.
Is that true, though?
Diego Trujillo plays Walter Blanco.
Cited?
Walter Blanco.
Yes, they are cited.
That's great.
Okay.
Anyway, continuing to enjoy The Office UK, or as Bryce calls it.
No, okay.
The Office Ook.
There you go. Something like that.
This just The Office, right? The US one's the second one, so I guess if you want to be like that, you could just do that too. But that'll confuse people, so we try to make it less confusing. Hey, thanks to everybody who supports the show and gets these episodes early. If you're a patron at patreon.com/Cordkillers, you get episodes of Spoilerin Time a couple of days before everybody else, and you get After Talk, where Brian and I continue the conversation in who knows what ways. But if you want to hear a little more of what's on our brains, you get that as well. That's patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you again next week.
Bob hopes you have enjoyed this program.